Bruce, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having us. I'm Dan with Red, White, and Blue 402. That's my YouTube channel. This here is Camaro Bruce. That is his YouTube channel. And we're going to do an interview and walk around and check out his collection of motorcycles and see what he can show us. How are we doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy that you guys can make it out here. And we're going to start putting a face to all of our clips and our page as well.
Definitely. The people want to see us. So here we are. How many motorcycles would you say you have?
28.
28.
They're not all in here, but there's about 24 of them in here, I believe.
And do you race all of them at the drag strip, or is it just a few?
Yeah, good question. At the moment I have about 7 bikes that I drag race regularly, and the rest of them that are in here, mainly I take on road course, and then I have a few bikes that we go out and cruise on, a couple of the older bikes, and one of the bikes I'm working on right now is just a mellow cruiser, older bike.
So, how many years did it take to build this collection?
I started buying motorcycles about 4 years ago, and then when I moved out here, fortunately I had some buildings to expand on the collection, and a lot of the bikes I bought were probably 2019 or 2021 and 22, and I purchased most of them then, most of the sport bikes and the drag bikes in those years. It was a good year to buy bikes. They had the value hadn't increased in them like it is now.
Is it a pretty big, has the prices grown over the years, or has it gotten higher, or the bikes gotten more expensive?
Yeah, pretty much so. After COVID, when there wasn't an availability, a lot of the dealerships didn't have bikes. The used bike market went way up. Some of the bikes that I had bought for $4,000, $5,000 are probably now worth $8,000 or $9,000.
Well, that's not too bad. Maybe you could make some money on your investments in the future if you were willing to sell some.
That's what I keep telling my wife.
Is that a half truth or a little bit of a white lie?
She probably doesn't listen to me anyway. She knows better. I buy what I want. I have, my father told me once, if you're buying boats, motorcycles, nice cars, real estate, don't even ask your wife, just buy it, because after you buy it, there's going to be an argument, and if you wanted to buy it, there'd be an argument, so you save an argument.
Sounds like very good advice.
Definitely.
Trying to think here.
I got into racing probably a long time ago with my dad, racing stock cars and stuff, kind of did some other things, but when I really started racing motorcycles was just a couple of years ago. Once I started buying some faster bikes, we went down to our favorite place, I-29 Dragway, and they were letting us go down and just do some test and tunes on Wednesday night, and just really got caught up in it with some of the older bikes, the LTD 1000. I had 1983 GSXR 1100E, and it was just awesome. And my friend said, "Oh, you just wait. You're gonna want to buy something faster and better to ride." I bought a Hayabusa that is really, really comfortable bike to ride, and it was faster. It was a lot easier than racing the older bikes. And just a couple years ago, some of the sport bikes are in here. We started doing track days in Heartland Park and at Hastings, and just so enjoyable. The track day just lets you ride for 20 minutes, taking the bike to its limit, and it's a bliss in the end. It really is.
Did your dad ever race motorcycles?
My dad wasn't cut out to race motorcycles. He liked stock cars. He bought a few motorcycles, and it didn't go very well for him. Didn't crash him. It wasn't his thing.
Right. Did he support your hobby though? Did he go to the track with you and with the motorcycles, or were you guys more on the circle track dirt car scene together?
Yeah, he really liked stock cars. We built stock cars back in the late 70s, early 80s, and he wasn't a drag racing fan. He liked everything else: Indy 500, Daytona, NASCAR, any stock cars, sprint cars, and but motorcycles weren't too much interest. And by the time I started racing motorcycles, he was a little bit older, and some guys when they're 85 years old don't like to get out too much.
Maybe a little more mellow at that age.
Right. He always enjoyed watching the YouTube clips and my videos from the GoPro on it though.
And so your channel, Camaro Bruce, would assume that you have a Camaro.
I do. I have a 2018 ZL1 1LE.
And so do you take that out and road course race it, or?
I do. I actually was racing it before I got into the motorcycles. The ZL1 1LE is an amazing car. And I've had it at Road America, Heartland Park, Hastings, and I got my start down at I-29 Speedway on the road course there before the big flood of 2019. Kind of tore the track up.
So here's the real hard question. Camaro or the motorcycles?
I kind of shifted a little bit. I used to road course the Camaro. I actually drag raced it a few times as well. It's kind of hard on the clutch system to drag race that. And since I got the motorcycles, I've really favored towards the motorcycles. A little more convenient to race them as well.
Yeah.
You don't have to get cars, tires, trailers, haul all over the place. Whereas with the motorcycles, it's just straight down Platteview Road and I'm at my happy place. I-29 dragway.
And with the motorcycles, you can fit probably a few more motorcycles into the trailer and have fun with multiple different rides compared to a car where you just have one truck, one car, one trailer.
Exactly. Yeah. Typically, I'll take 3 motorcycles down to the drag strip, and they're very accommodating at I-29. Doug and Jeremy are such good guys there, and they'll let me race all 3 bikes on a motorcycle when you drag race it. Typically, you have to let it cool down, and while it's cooling down, I am the Pony Express rider. I'm just going to hop on another bike that I have there, make 3 or 4 passes on it, do the same again, and at the end of the night, I can stack a lot of timesheets.
How many passes do you do usually on one night?
I've did as many as 36, and probably more like 40 because there's a few of them that you don't like. That ticket just goes away. But I've did a lot. Lately, I've cut down to maybe 22, 23 passes. Depends how long I spend at the hot dog stand.
Well, and we've seen you race your truck down there too. Tell us about your truck a little bit.
It's a new F-150 with the EcoBoost, and just one night somebody had their truck and they were zooming down, and I'm like, I'm gonna go take this guy out. He thinks he's got a fast truck. And we went, ran a 9.6, and then somebody said, oh, you need to put it in 4-wheel drive, and we hooked it in 4-wheel drive and ran an 8.1 at like 78 miles an hour. It was just a lot of fun.
That's not bad for a heavier stock 4-door truck.
It's probably because of the twin turbo. Obviously, it has 400 horse. They're great trucks, but what really makes that truck fast is its automatic 10-speed.
Oh yeah, that's a very good transmission too. They've had great success with those as of recently. So I've heard.
Someday you're gonna have to drag race me in your truck.
I think we'll have to do that.
You'll probably do that.
Well, what do you say we take the people for a walk around the shop and we show them what you got?
I'd love to show you guys and talk about a few motorcycles and some of the stuff I have on the wall as well.
Awesome. Well, let's do that, and we'll start that.
About cruising a little bit and the first one.
All right. Well, so give me a breakdown on what year this is and how often you ride this motorcycle here.
Yeah, this is one of the first ones that I bought since I got into the motorcycle racing. This is a 75 Z1, restored very nicely by my friend Neil, and it's mainly, we do a lot of racing, but friends of mine and I get together and we go on cruises from here a lot. We try to do it once or twice a month. So this will be definitely one of my go-to bikes to cruise on, and it's this is a very special motorcycle. I wouldn't race this.
No, this like you wouldn't want to race.
Yeah, and I originally had when I was 16 or 17, I had a 75 Z1, very similar to this bike, and it just brings back memories. Like a lot of us old guys who like to buy the cars that we had when we were 16.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's one of the things.
And so is this all parts for the bike here?
Yeah, these are different seats. That a lot of those little short seats, they are on the sport bikes, and you don't use the short seats. And then there's just some extra seats that I have because some of the drag seats I've had to cut them down, and I just buy another seat to cut it down and retain the stock seat.
Very cool.
And this is Camaro Bruce's leathers for drag racing and helmet. Very, very important equipment.
Yeah, you see, you got elbow pads and everything.
Yeah, more so the pads. A lot of the drag racers will just run a really thin leather suit only. The pads and the knee pads are mainly for the road course.
Is that like a triple layer suit, or how many layers is that?
Yeah, it's basically just one heavy layer of leather with the inserts, and then there's breathing involved, and then it has the neck support. So if you come off and your neck snaps back with the helmet, it'll keep it from snapping way back. It's like a head restraint.
Yeah. Well, let's see what you got going on here. I see a couple of bikes that look almost identical here.
Yeah, and they are. These are some newer Gixxers. One is a 1000R, and the other one is a 600. 600 amazing bike, really handles good. My son goes to the track days with us, and typically he likes to ride that, but I always throw him off of it and hop on it because they're amazing bikes. They're lighter, probably about 360 pounds compared to 430 pounds. And they still have 125 crank horsepower, so they're very capable on that bike. Will go 170 miles an hour.
And it's still just as fun.
Oh yeah, and they're all stock, 100% stock.
And then I see you got a Busa here.
Yeah, this is a boost I bought from my friend Craig. Just an immaculate motorcycle, and I drag race it. We've upgraded the clutch basket, and are gonna do a few other things to the clutch just to kind of add a little bit to the up and coming season. And it's ready to go. One of the things, I know a lot of people collect bikes, and a lot of the bikes collect dust, and that's it, but all these bikes run, and I'll either race them, drag race them, road course them, or we'll cruise on them.
You ever do a smoky burnout in the shop?
If you looked on my driveway, there's a lot of testing burnouts, for sure, but not in the shop. I spent too much time on the floor.
And so I don't want to pass these up, but what do we got here back in the corner?
These are some older Suzuki's. Suzuki's kind of my theme bike that I like to use because of the red and blue and light blue. Obviously, you see all those. This is a 04 Gixxer 1000. Just was one of the bikes that was presented to me for $3,500. Low miles, just in pristine shape. I mean, it's hard to pass that up. A 96 Gixxer 1100. And this is an 89 Gixxer, and this one goes all the way to an 83. This is one of the bikes that we drag race. We're doing some clutch work and getting it ready for the season.
And then how about the BMW RR?
Yeah, the BMW was a bike that I bought to drag race, and I really thought it was going to be the super fast bike because of the power, the tune and stuff. But I find as a heavier person, 260, 265 suited up, that the 1000cc bikes just, they don't carry the momentum down the track that the Busa or the ZX14. After you shift, the RPMs go down, it takes a while to pull, where the bigger bikes are just pulling and shifting.
Gotcha.
6.6 in the 8th mile is the best time I had on it, and the other bikes I'm very comfortable down in the low 6s.
I see you got it lowered. Is that from the factory or is that aftermarket?
This bike has a lot of extras on it. It's got an extended swing arm, and they slammed it. The guy I bought it from was a street fighter, and he claims he's went 225 miles an hour on this motorcycle.
Ooh.
Yeah, not my cup of tea.
I see you got carbon fiber on the fairing there and then on the fender here.
Yeah, they love the carbon fiber. They love kind of stripping the back of it, making it have the so-called naked look. And it's a beautiful bike, but it's for sale.
Well, let's talk about this Busa here.
Yeah, this is a Busa that is really set up for drag racing. When we bought it, the previous owner was using MR12, and the MR12 didn't get flushed all the way, and it caused some injector problems with me. So we kind of struggled with getting it to run last year, put a new fuel pump, but we finally figured it out. Now it runs the way it's supposed to, and I'm really excited to get it down to the track. It has a little blue bottom on the back too, if I get comfortable on it.
Have you been to the track with this thing?
Yes, I have, yeah. I ran a really good 60 foot on it, but it would fall on its face halfway down the track. 60 foot in any drag racing is critical. It kind of measures what your run's going to end up at. Most of the bikes, the quicker bikes I have, I'll be a low 1.6, and I actually ran a 1.5, 160 foot on this. But it fell on its face, and I ended up with like a 6.4 on it.
Well, it's faster than my truck, even breaking up.
Right.
Well, let's talk about this wall here. So you got some flags, got some memorabilia from the Indianapolis 500. Let's talk about the Navy flag.
Yeah, my dad, who got me into racing, just an amazing person. He passed away in August of 2020, and I do it to remember him and celebrate his life. He loved racing. He was one of the first guys to go to Sunset Speedway in 1957, and one of the last guys to leave on their last day. And probably in that 43 years, maybe missed 10 races of the whole time. I went there with him. He built a stock car for us, a Sportsman, and we re-raced it on a regular basis there in the late 70s and early 80s.
Jericho, if you want to come in on this picture here, these are pictures of your father's old race cars from the dirt tracks.
Oh yeah, I mean it goes back to running the old coupes back in the late 60s to a pony car, to my first stock car, and then we actually built another sportsman car that had a factory chassis on it.
If you point to the red car there on the bottom corner, that's actually from another local track here over in Council Bluffs called Playland Speedway, which is also now gone. And so that's two tracks that we've lost within the last 25, 30 years.
I was in Indianapolis at a soccer tournament, and we went to the track, and the museum was really nice. And my dad was at two of the races AJ Foyt won and one that Al Unser won. So I bought this for him, and he said, no, just put it up in your shop.
And that's this plaque here?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That is very cool. Those are all their signatures?
It's their own signatures. It's like 89 of 100, 81 of 100, I see. And yeah, it's just special stuff that helps me to remember my dad. Doesn't take much to remember. I think of him every day.
I hear you. Well, let's talk about what we got going on here.
Yeah, this is another leader bike, 1,000 cc's, challenge bike. Just a hard bike for me to go fast, but one night we were down the track and there was a guy that I'd seen a few times before, a little 130-pound guy, and I offered him to ride it. He got on the bike and ran a 6.0 on it.
That's nice. And I see you got a little...
enough to make you want to go on a diet.
You got a little spray back here?
Yeah, it's... I haven't got to the point to try to give it a spray, but I'll be selling that bike too. Make some room for some of the classic bikes.
You get some more bikes in here.
Yeah. That's set up on my Camaro back there. Also sponsor one of my son's friends, AJ Jurgensen. He runs a late model at the I-80 Speedway. Unfortunately, that's another track that's closed.
That is another one that we lost this year too.
He races at Harlem as well.
And then, so now we're in the Kawasaki's. So you got a few Ninjas here.
Yeah, these are another 600, and this is an 05 ZX10R. This is 11 ZX10R, kind of a cutting edge bike that came out, lots of power. And there'll be bikes that I run on track days at Heartland Park and Hastings, as well as this is a Yamaha R1 in 05, very nimble, agile bike. And then BMW S1000 RR.
Another RR here.
Yeah, and this is all stock. This has a lot of different modes you can drive it in. You can drive it in tour mode, slick mode, rain mode, track mode, and it just does so many different things electronic to the bike. It changes how the suspension reacts. It changes how the brakes react. It's an amazing bike. A lot of power.
It's very beautiful too, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a BMW.
And is this a Busa, or no, this is a GSX?
It is a Busa. It's got a custom paint job. This is one of the first drag bikes with the extended swing arm that I bought. And this took me from riding some of the LTD 1000 and the old Gixxers, GS 1100Rs that I thought I was doing good. And they were very challenging. And when I got this Busa, I was just amazed at how much easier it was to launch the bike and to get a good time. Now I was in the index race and went all the way to the semifinals on this bike against all the cars there and just had a great time thumping the cars.
Very cool.
Yeah, 641
That's your best time on that?
Yes.
641?
Mm-hmm.
What was the mile per hour on that? Do you remember?
About 115.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
That's pretty fast.
And on this, and I thought I was doing good on those. And when I got on the Boost, I was so amazed at how much easier it was to drive this bike, even though it was faster than some of the older bikes that kind of might want to pop a wheelie, they were harder to shift. And I hopped on this bike and just, that's what really, really got started.
Does this have a slipper clutch as well?
It does not, no. And I won't put the slider clutch on it. This bike runs a steady 6.5, and they had one of the index races this year at the track, and I got signed up in the 650, and it was me against about 36 cars, and I took it all the way to semifinals with this bike.
How comfortable do you feel? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. How comfortable do you feel racing against cars? Some tracks they don't let you.
Right, it's challenging. I mean, one of the challenging things with cars is that they're so loud, and especially some of the cars with turbo, that they have that exhaust pipe pointing right at you.
Yep.
It's takes a lot of focus, because when you're launching a bike, usually you go by ear. You don't want to sit down and look at the tack and try to look at the light at the same time.
Yep.
And then, fortunately, Doug or the guys at the strip know there's a couple times I'll end up with cars that goes, no, Bruce, you don't want to go against this car. You know, some of the real super powerful cars that might get a little bit loose that we see once in a while.
Yep.
So I would stay away from that.
Yeah, it's a little scary. Well, talk to us about the Kawasaki here.
Yeah, the ZX14, known as the king of the quarter mile. This is 2016, a real good version. I bought it, had 2,900 miles on it, and the guy just babied it. And some of the improvements we did, we put an extended swing arm. One of the main things on some of these bikes that you'll see is the seat. It's important that there's holds you in.
Yep.
And like when the seat's on there, it will spit you off the back, and that's a huge challenge.
Is this
When you bike. Yeah, I've customized that. It holds me in. We're actually going to put one of the slipper clutches in it that we talked about, and an air shifter, and I'm hoping to see a 5.9, 5.8 on this bike this year.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it'll happen. Or I can lose 50 pounds, and that'll be guaranteed. And you notice I have a bunch of different suits.
Yes, what about the leathers up there?
I really like it. When I bought these, I was kind of ambitious to go from 2X large to a 1X large, which I can barely get in, and then I have the dream suit, which is just
Extra?
a large, extra large.
Extra
Yeah.
large.
But for now, it matches the BMW.
Well, summertime's coming. We'll have to get out there and chop some wood and get to sweat and lose
There
some weight.
you go.
What do we got here on the lift here?
This is one of the earlier bikes I bought. It's an 83 GS 1100 ES, kind of a very rare bike. It is one of the first. It is the first bike that ran stock into the 10s. It did a 10.93 or 10.91 back when it came out. So the GS 1100s just took a huge step forward because they had the 4 valves per cylinder and the twin swirl combustion chamber. And they just came out and dominated motorcycles for the 3 or 4 years. And they're a great cruising bike, and that's when I'm putting it back together all stock to be a cruiser.
How long do you think it'll take before you're ready to run that again?
We'll have it. I had to do some work on the head. We'll put it back together, and we should have this bike up and going in the next couple of weeks.
Very cool.
We're actually going to work on it tonight.
So I noticed you got some dinosaurs up here. Are they fighting, or what's the?
Yeah, the T-Rex might have a little bit of weight advantage on the Velociraptor. I have a bunch of apartments and I find trinkets in there, and who doesn't love a dinosaur?
Exactly.
So I'm hoping to add to my collection someday.
We'll have to find some dinosaurs for you.
Right.
And so let's see your tools. Let's see you're a Bears fan, maybe an Eagles fan, or is that just a signature?
I had a friend of mine that played for the Eagles. His name's Anton Davis. He signed it for me. We used to live in Claremont, Florida. But the main guy is Dick Butkus. He was my guy growing up, and I'm still a Bears fan as well.
See, you even got your own Camaro Bruce custom craftsman.
Oh, how about that?
That's pretty cool.
This is just more stuff to remember my dad. Pictures, his driver's license. He used to like snowballs, and you know, those are important things to always remember. So I see you found my Camaro Bruce clock. That's amazing what you can order these days.
No kidding.
Well, thanks so much for coming out. I really enjoyed the interview, Dan. I look so much forward to seeing you, and thanks to your cameraman as well.
Yeah, thanks Jericho for filming for us.
And you gotta get my friend Jim
The
here.
man behind the magic here, Jim.
Jim has helped me from when this was a pole barn. I wouldn't have all this without all of his great efforts, and he still helps me work on bikes, and he actually mows the grass out here too.
Well,
My wife says he does a better job than me.
Well, hey, now you don't have to do it. He can do it.
There you go.
Well, I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come out here and check out the shop and interview you. And this has been a real awesome opportunity for me. And I can't thank you enough for letting us come out here and do this.
I'm glad you could make it, Dan.
And I can't wait to see all you guys down at the track this year. I-29 Dragway, they'll be open soon. Swap meet's coming up in what, less than a month?
I believe so.
Go to I-29
Mid-March.
or check out their Facebook. Hope to see you guys down there. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Subscribe and like.
Like and subscribe.